so that are here present that also contribute to the discussion. I will make a small introduction. I asked João Paulo to send this introduction and also the questions that I have prepared to everyone by WhatsApp. I hope you had already time to do it. Okay, but for the sake of time, I will read it very quickly. So, as toxicologists, we know the profound impact of our work has on public health and safety. From the ensuring the safety of food, drugs, and chemicals to protecting the environment and addressing emerging risks, toxicology is a discipline that underpins some of the most critical challenges faced by modern society. Eurotox Executive Committee in 2016 statement on toxicology as an academic discipline in European universities that was published in Toxicology Letters clearly highlighted the risks associated with the diminishing focus on toxicology in academic settings. Departments are shrinking, positions are not being renewed, and opportunities for young toxicologists are becoming increasingly scarce. This issue is deeply intertwined with today's topic. The disconnect between the academic training provided to toxicology graduates and the skills that are required in professional settings is a significant barrier to progress. Employers frequently report that graduates lack practical competencies in areas such as data science, regulatory knowledge, and interdisciplinary collaboration. At the same time, academic institutions often struggle to update their curricula to meet the rapidly evolving demands in the job market. The ToxLearn EU project has taken an important step in addressing these issues by fostering collaboration between academia, industry, and regulatory bodies. Today, we have an opportunity to explore concrete strategies to bridge this gap, ensure toxicology remains a vibrant and essential discipline, and empower next generation of toxicologists. I look forward to hearing the perspectives of our distinguished panelists who represent a diverse range of expertise and engaging with all of you, as I mentioned in the beginning, as we explore solutions to this pressing challenge. So I have a few questions. First, some general questions, then some questions for the academia, for the industry, for regulatory bodies, etc. So I will start with a general question to Bertrand, Professor Bertrand. From your perspective, what are the most critical skills or areas of knowledge where toxicology graduates consistently fall short when entering the workforce? I will make this the same question to the so to have a good view of what is lacking, what is academia teaching that does not prepare the professionals of their jobs.
Thank you for the question. Like a complicated one to start, a very large and broad question. You stated very well in the beginning, as well as say students are requested to know more and more transversal skills, like you said, talk about data management, but like say big data management and communication and everything. At the same time, we still need to teach about very complex topics like toxicology things, and the problem is like what we are struggling in as university is like if we want to include this new critical skills that are needed by companies and the professional world. We need to reduce in the other hands the pure knowledge, let's say, about toxicology, because we know that we were discussing before about the time management, and that's a big challenge. That's really, well, let's say, big question that we have to face, and on that aspect, it's not a very clear answer. But then about the skill which are missing, I would say a clear and a direct link with the professional world. I think maybe more, let's say, more applied knowledge. We need to have more skills, more link maybe with company. That's we have to think also to include companies to design curriculum in order to have something which is a bit more applied. Yeah. And also group work. I think like we're discussing about PBL, this type of thing. I mean, it's really rare when we are working in a company to work alone. We work in a group, we work with other peoples, and that's very important to have a lot of group work and to develop these transversal skills. So I think we are pretty good on science. Not a problem on scientific skills that we provide to the students. I think we are a bit weak on the transversal skills which are needed in a professional world.
Yeah, and I don't know what happens in other countries, but in Portugal, toxicology is mainly a discipline for the pharmacy schools. Of course, we have post graduations, master courses and PhD courses on toxicology. But in those courses, you cannot follow all the aspects in toxicology. So, in your opinion, is this sufficient to have only toxicology as a discipline in the School of Pharmacy? Do the master courses and PhD courses in toxicology fulfill the gap that we require, or is there anything else that we should address?
So I'm not a toxicologist, but I am an ecotoxicologist.
Okay.
So it's a
Respectively.
it's in independent science.
Not completely.
Some years ago was a branch of toxicology. In the 70s, it became an independent science. But anyway, for instance, I have noticed that this was a gap in the courses that are available in Portugal. So that's why we decided to change the master in eco-toxicology and include one curricular unit called ecotoxicology and toxicology. So although we devote a little bit more than half of the course into ecotoxicology, then we have more or less 5 short courses on toxicology. But of course, it is not our expertise. Some of the concepts that we give in ecotoxicology are similar, but of course they are not adapted to pharmacology.
Yeah, but the idea here, how this knowledge that you have for the students is translated into the requirements of the industry, the workforce.
What we
Is it enough? Do you feel that we should?
It is not enough because things are moving very fast. But for instance, one of the things that I have to teach is regulation. So how come you can teach regulation to school be completely destroyed with a class just for regulations? And so what I do is teach them concepts that are present in regulation and then present them the regulation and how they will use the concepts in that specific regulation. Of course, that I will not cover all the regulation, but I take the chance, for instance, to teach them what is toxicity, bioaccumulation, and persistence, and then I translate them into the rich regulation or to the pesticide regulation, and then I guide them through that. So there are some skills that students need that it is very difficult to catch their attention, for instance, for them to study a law.
Yes, you touched in a point that it is very, very important. The student or the person that has the course doesn't have to be, there have to be the whole knowledge there. But the basics needs to be there so that person will understand everything that is required for the job. When there is the need. What we must be focusing is on the skills that student needs, then to get some more knowledge on the needs that are required by the industry. So, Amanda, are there specific examples of industries or sectors where skills mismatch is particularly pronounced? That is, you have a person that has some toxicology skills, has learned some courses, master, for pre-graduation or graduation courses, and then you are that person. You are that person. You arrived at your enterprise, and probably you have.
I knew nothing about medical devices.
Oh,
So,
your difficulties. How did you overcome those difficulties?
okay, the background from academia, it was very helpful, okay? Talking about the classes in my master, I had good teachers, of course. And it was important for me to have the concepts that are right, that I needed to use, although I didn't have any background on regulation and on specific regulation about medical devices, which I'm not aware that in Portugal it happens because it only focuses on ecotoxicology, so REACH, CLP, and on pharma industry.
Pharma industries, yes.
So medical devices, we don't see that much, and it's in Portugal in a lot of places. So
Was that a big struggle for you, or with the basis you had before, you could manage to obtain everything
Yes.
that was required?
I will go there. And when I got to the lab, also in Professor Felix lab, and also here, I had some other skills that were really important for me to apply in my job nowadays. Because the things we develop while working in a lab that is attentive to standards, OECD guidelines, while developing our own test methods for our projects, gives you the critical thinking of going after the information.
Thank you.
And that was important for me in order to try to understand how could I manage to look into toxicology in that industry. And it was really important, and it is really important right now because maybe many of you don't know, but the medical device regulation changed. And industry has to apply a new regulation until 2017, which is way more strict. So it's really strange. And our momentum of toxicologists and clinical evaluators has come to this because the safety of the devices is the main focus of regulation. So it is a really important point that notified bodies are looking for, and it's bad that we don't have that information in academic matters, but although we have a lot of good education that give us the skills for us to go after the information.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Again, those that are following us online and those present, if they want to intervene, please raise your hands, or those that are online, just write your positions on this subject, because this is a roundtable that involves you all as well. So this brings me to a question for the academia. When we start a new course, we have to anticipate the needs, obviously, of this the area where the faculty of university is, and also the industry, the regulatory bodies that will require those students. How can we anticipate those needs when designing the toxicology curricula? Or are we only using the knowledge of the professor, the teachers that are already there, and just say, so please construct these curriculum units with basic knowledge in toxicology, and that's what we need from you, and that's it. Should we go some steps ahead?
Well, I think that it depends a little bit on the level of the degree that the people are having. So if it's a first degree, I think it doesn't apply so much, but for the master and the PhDs, we can have a lot of researchers involved in this kind of teaching, and they can bring some more up-to-date needs and approaches to stimulate and to improve the courses and change them. So, and we have that possibility because we can have our courses evaluated and changed from time to time in our Portuguese system, and we can do improvements and adapt these curricula to the needs.
Excellent point, excellent point. 3 levels: pre-graduation, then master courses, and PhD courses. Different thinkings, different inputs in those courses, because basics are required.
Yes.
in pre-graduation. Then master courses prepare the students for certain application of their knowledge. So it's a course driven for the industry. And then PhD is to prepare someone for the critical thinking, but in a particular subject. Doesn't mean that person is a toxicologist in the end, because he's working in a particular subject. So if someone wants to learn toxicology in a full concept, probably the graduation and the master courses would be. Don't you agree, Bertrand?
Yeah, I totally agree. Not to add anything more than that. Maybe just the original question was that when we develop new courses, I would say like 2 different levels. Maybe when we develop just the basic courses, we don't have to request anything. We can do it by ourselves, adapting it. If we want to develop a new master degree, for example, in France, at least we have to demonstrate to the ministry that is adequate to the job market. So we need to make a survey to see that there is a need of jobs, and the company in the next 5-10 years, they need this type of jobs. So we need to provide this study of the market to the ministry in order to get the approval. So without that, you cannot get opening of the new master courses. So that's
Yes, definitely, and probably we should have monitoring system for those that you have it.
not really.
It is required that we should monitor what happens to those students that have in the end the master course. So if they enter or not it's the market and how and if they are doing really what they were prepared for, not only in the job market. So and nowadays what I feel is that and this, Amanda, it's another question for you. more and more skills on computational toxicology are required. And computational toxicology, it's something that's very difficult for someone that comes from a biological area, entering into these difficult fields. It's not easy. What you feel that should we have curriculum units on this computational toxicology as well? Because in the future we will require that data.
We should have, because we are, at the moment, companies require clinical research organizations or consultants to do that job. So if they can hire toxicologists that can do all the job, has knowledge about computational toxicology, that would be
What
better.
about a master course on computational toxicology? I'm sure that at least during the first years, all those professionals would have a hiring company for them. Yeah.
I would like to see the staff to teach that course.
There are a few already a few experts in that area. Probably not coming from toxicology, but probably we would have a need on toxicologists and also in computational engineers that could help on that part as well. Not easy, but again, I think there's a mindset that can be changed. Another mindset, and this is for all, is green chemistry. We need to have input in green chemistry in everything we do. Green chemistry means that we need to protect the environment. Don't you agree? No?
That is my first theoretical and practical class
Oh.
from ecotoxicology
Please.
and toxicology.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think I have someone here that can agree with me because she was there.
Mhm.
So it's one of the first classes that we have is to discuss a paper that has several concepts and also focus on green toxicology. So that students are aware of the existence of this approach or theories that they can be alerted and know how to then complement using the knowledge that they gain into that field and how, for instance, chemistry can take profit from this kind of approaches and how industry can take profit from green chemistry, for instance.
Green chemistry, green toxicology, in the end of the day, everyone needs this kind of concepts in their mind when they buy some new clothing and the water does not enter the fabric. Why is that? What is the chemical compound or chemicals that are there preventing the water from entering? And is that good? Is that good for the human health or even the environmental safety? We need to think. As a toxicologist, in everything I do, I eat, I buy, I always think on the safety, and this kind of thinking sometimes does not occur in industries. And industries they are driven for the money, profit driven, and sometimes also when new compounds appear in the market, depending on the quantity, then there is no requirement for previous evaluation of the respective toxic effects. So what I'm trying to say here is that toxicology is required in everything we do. Is that right?
That's correct. That's why I love being part of the follow the legislation, and the legislation takes care of green toxicology also, because when EU and FDA regulates these types of things, pharma industry, medical devices, and also chemicals industry, they are aware of these things and they try to impose to the industries that they need to be aware of these things. So that's why teaching the regulation and teaching or the concepts are making people aware that they have to look after that. It's important for them to not be overpassed by some of the money business parts that you need to be aware of that. So you have the regulations and you need to be compliant.
Well, this reach the moment in which we say toxicology important in everything we do, in everything in our life. But it becomes difficult to convince a talented student to go to a course in toxicology because he is afraid in the end that is the job is not there for the skills you obtain during the graduation or post-graduation in toxicology. Do you feel that, Becca, or do you still are convinced that the students already know that if they have post-graduation in toxicology, they will have a job for certain and that it will fulfill their life from that moment on?
In the same position as Susan, I'm an eco-toxicologist as well, so a bit, and on that aspect, there is a big shortage at the European level of eco-toxicologists for company. So that's why I try to push the students to go, let's go there, because there is a lot of jobs on that aspect, and a lot of companies are hiring on that. So it's not so complicated to come in then as well. And also maybe because in our field, it's certainly very different from you, from the, let's say, medical field. When you work in environmental sciences, in general, the jobs are not super well-paid job in general. And you say, go for the eco-toxicologist, it's easy to get the job, usually the pay is very good for our fields, I would say. I guess it's a bit different from the aspect of.
Yeah.
If I can add something that now I was remembering that some coming to my mind when we were talking about that. For instance, you are almost all belonging to Eurotox, right? I belong to CTAC. Beautiful possibilities.
With some right with setup.
Exactly. So the CTAC is the Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry, and we have a certification program in CTAC for risk assessors. And one of the things that we did with our master in Aveiro, that is called Eco Toxicology and Risk Analysis, is that some of the curricular units that we have, some of the courses, are matching the requirements for this certification. So we define them so that they could match that certification.
Mm-hmm.
So then when the students go to get a certification as risk assessors, then it will be easier and they will accomplish this certification. So we were doing this mainly because we noticed that some of our master students would go for consultancy. So they were as consultants, so they would gain from this. So these are kind of strategies that you can do to try to show the students that this kind of approach that.
I think João Paulo can add something from the Eurotox point of view.
Yeah, we have similar recognition with the ERT, European Resistant Toxicologists. That some of the curricula are adapted, taking into account all the rules that we have to give this certification in Europe. And one of the important things is that the pharmacy industry, normally when they are recruiting toxicologists, is one of the requirements they ask is to be a ERT. And even a lot of American scientists in toxicology are asking us for this certification. So there are a lot of steps to follow and to have different kinds of knowledge. But this certification is, and we are working on that and improving each year.
So I can then talk
João
to
Paulo was chair of the registration subcommittee until just last year, and has a lot of knowledge on that point as well. You raised your, you want to continue?
I have another question. But
Yes, you raised your
I have
hand.
spoken because we are discussing on students to, let's say, move on into the field.
Yeah,
But there is a little bit of a discrepancy because we teach students to become researchers. And then when they go into the companies, they are not allowed to think out of the box because you have your regulations, right? And I think there is also some conflict in field that students would like rather do research in an academic setting than going to the companies, because there you are restricted by regulations. How do you feel about that?
yeah, but more and more, at least in master courses, we have combined supervision between academia and industry, so we can prepare that student for the needs of that industry. And for instance, Fernando is now entering a joint project with the industry exactly with that objective. So I believe that at least in master courses, but also in PhD courses, we can have those combined supervisions from industry and academia, so we can have a specific problem to be addressed that is of interest of the academia. And also we have already some courses that are driven to the regulatory part. That does not require laboratory work, but only paperwork. And in the end, that the PhD student or master student is prepared in terms of.
That's exactly the point that I want to raise. They don't want to do paperwork at the end. They want to do research.
They need skill, they want, it depends. It depends on, yeah, yes, please.
It says.
Yeah. This is that's exactly what I wanted.
I'm sorry, so regarding the part of, I loved being a researcher, I still am a researcher. I'm also a regulatory affairs and a biological safety specialist at a company. I'm a toxicologist. So the point is, I have regulations to follow, yes, to protect people and people's health. Although the standards that I follow in the regulation allow me to respond to them with my mind and my critical thinking and my background on research. The notified bodies will accept that or not. Not everything is a checklist, okay? That I have to like tick it and it's done. So I have to do all the lab tasks, all the companies would be lost. If they had to do all the testing that is required, they will all be doomed. There will be no medical devices. That's why you need toxicologists, that's why you need people with a critical mind to make the research and to understand which type of raw material, which type of chemicals, which type of extractables and leachables from a chemical characterization can make can turn into a harm to the human health. That's why if you have a toxicology, you can do a toxicological risk assessment, and maybe you don't have to do a lot of biological tests afterwards. So it's not that you don't have the place to be a researcher. You do have, and you also have the design and development department, which is really good for that.
The point that I wanted to make is that students see it as a job, a desk job, right, later on, instead of being in the lab. So they prefer to be, let's say, a researcher in the university than instead of.
Yes, that
And you can
happens.
also go to a consultancy. I can give you also options because there's also always this thing, this clinical research organizations that have the labs that I ask for the tasks, well, they can work on that type of field. If they can be working in this kind, engaged in this kind of industrial activity, in this kind of job, and being a lab at the same time. So that is possible. But I'm just, I know that we are more prepared to be in a lab, but that's not so rigid like that.
And in academia, you are at the lab until a certain stage of your career.
Exactly, because
And then you will speak. And then you will. João
Yeah,
Paulo.
a little bit related with this, I'd like to ask you the panelists. How do you see the toxicologist in 10, 20 years? Since I think, maybe I missed something, but toxicology is based on data. And data we have a lot. The problem is the realization. And with these instruments that we are talking about in the session before about AI, how do you think that in 20 years we will go to the lab?
Well,
Answer to the project.
probably I can start. Most of the regulatory requirements, at least in the area of pharmaceutical industry, are relied on animal data. And within not more than 10 years, probably we will get rid of those type of experiments. Once we can validate other systems that we can rely on, like humanized cells or in vitro, in organ on a ship, and even the different organs combined, called organoids, in which we can follow the toxicity in human-derived cells. So the translation of those results are more reliable than those obtained with animals, and without suffering, of course, of animals. I think this is one point. The other point is what is already being doing in EPA in the United States. They are using models only in computer models. So when you can see an adverse outcome pathway, you can say that if certain initiating events are occurring, or a combination of initiating events are occurring, you know the outcome. You know the pathway that is going on, and you know what is the outcome of those toxic effects. So what I can see within 10 years from now is like it happened in cosmetics. We will not use animals. We will rely more and more on those models and on computational toxicology, I believe. But this is my opinion. You can I start with Bertrand. What do you think?
We'll say toxicology, ecotoxicology.
No, but it's same question, because we use also animal models, or plants, or microorganisms, but basically the same questions. I do agree on the perspective. Certainly, we will go there. The question I have is like, should we go there? Should we go there? Because the thing is, like, based on, as we were when we're discussing with artificial intelligence, it's like the models and which are running the artificial intelligence based on the data we already have, and for me, it's somehow a bit too not too ambitious to how to explain. Yeah, that we have so much things we don't know about living organisms and system, how they work. So of course we have a limited dual perception of that. So if we put that in the model, so we'll have like limited results from that. So that's why for me it's kind of like being too proud of ourselves. That, okay, we don't need any more to that. I'm really afraid. I do believe we will go that way for sure. I totally agree on what you said. On the fact that should we go on that way, I'm not sure.
So predictability, what is the predictability of the what we are doing now? And
So
how we can overcome this?
what I can perceive on this is, yes, we also going through that, and it works when you try to predict something that you already know. What I mean is that, for instance, if you have chemicals that are very similar, it works. The problem is that science is so much advanced that new chemicals with completely different characteristics that do not exist are appearing. So, and then you have to generate the same amount of data to have a prediction that is accurate enough to protect. So, and within that, I think we will fail if we will try to predict everything based on the existing models to new stuff that appears. But so I think it's crucial that we will continue to use some things that at the end, at a higher tier level, they need to be.
Yes, and from the industry point of view, you need to follow regulations. So what you need is regulations that are there for you to follow. At the moment, those regulations are based on classical studies, classical outcomes from
Although there are some regulations that clearly say that if you don't have to use animal models, you don't use animal models. So I will go for animal model studies if I have a device that it's that has a degree of novelty that is really high. Otherwise, we can have a lot of knowledge about the raw materials, the information from the suppliers of the raw materials. If I have a lot of information when I do my chemical characterization, if I know the extractable and leachables, if I can characterize them, times I don't have to go for animal testing, and I can do all my research based on no IELTS or low IELTS of those substances and extrapolate that.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, but if you have the possibility to avoid animal testing, then, but it is there in regulation
No,
that you can skip that part using other type of data.
Because the regulation
Allows that.
yeah,
That more and more, I believe that it will happen. And also, sometimes when biotechnology takes care of the products that we will be exposed to, nowadays we have CAR T cells being used to treat cancer, and we have antibodies to that only act on humans. Even if we use monkeys to test those antibodies, they are not 100% predictable, the results. So I believe that most of the work that can be done, once we validate, I think then the word here for the future is validation of alternative methods. Once we can get alternative methods that are validated, that can have a higher degree of prediction. And most of the studies with animals, sometimes they would not predict more than 60%, 60% of the outcome in humans. So that's why we need different models to be added to in the end to have some certainty on the safety. So I believe that we need to go there.
And I think that there is a mismatch on what we teach
now and the requirements.
and
That's what I was asking Armanda. What can the industry do to fulfill that gap?
okay.
The industry, because for instance, I am a pharmacist. And also I'm the president of the northern branch of the Order of Pharmacists here. And a lot of knowledge that is required now was not provided during their course. And so what we do is to provide the required knowledge afterwards.
Actually, I was looking at the ANF website, looking for
Yeah, new
courses,
yeah,
on medical devices field, on
yeah.
maybe specialized people in the field can also give courses, can also be invited to universities to give some information
Yeah,
about what they do.
don't you agree with you all that industry has some responsibilities there? So if they have new products, if there are new requirements, shouldn't the industry as well come forward and say, okay, this requires certain skills that were not obtained during the course, so we can provide it. Why should they always expecting academia to come forward and fulfill that gap? We need more, logical to agree, we need more combined work with industry and academia.
Maybe I can relate them because you still have nothing, right? I think you cannot leave it up to academia because in the Netherlands, just as Bertrand said in France, is that when you make a new course, it should also be enough requests from the market to make such a course. And then, for instance, devices, medical devices, I doubt whether this market is big enough. It should it would always be part of a course that's already existing. And maybe that's not enough for you as company then. And then I would say, hire the students that you want and then teach them yourself within the company, right? So then make those courses, specific courses, specific questions yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's companies and academia should work together.
Should work well together. That's
Yes, can I add something? Just, I want to say that in my opinion, that industries or even companies should have some sort of good reporting data or pharmacovigilance data to validate those models that are already there, to know if we need to update these models. And this is how you can improve, in fact, because in my opinion, these models can tell you the short-term safety of any products. But the long-term safety, you always need the help of industry, you always need the help of epidemiological reports, you always need some actual research to be done.
Yeah, that's right. And certain areas like the area of nanotoxicology is really requires much more knowledge than what we have now. Every day, new nanomaterial appears in the market, new nanoparticles. If the amount that reaches the market is in local quantity, there is no requirement,
Exactly.
no regulatory requirements, no study whatsoever made on those particles, and we need that kind of knowledge. So sometimes, if the industry is not obliged,
They will not do it.
they will not do it.
Yeah.
That happens, pharmacovigilance is formed either by industry or pharma and also medical devices. Although sometimes you have another problem, which is the doctors that don't report sometimes because it's a lot of time to report and I don't have time, it's a lot of paperwork and maybe also countries and EU should look in a way to make it more easier for people to report that kind of thing, so we can have a lot of that. And so it's a work of a chain of, yeah, because we cannot do this alone. And in EU, we are trying to improve things, but we need to do a little bit more because that happens.
A lot of work needed, and there's something that I want to address with the two ecotoxicologists here in the panel, because we have something what we call the expo zone, And the exposome means the exposure that we have since conception until we die. And there's millions of compounds that we are exposed to. And when we add another compound, this is something, and another drop in the ocean that we are already swimming on. So shouldn't we more and more include the mixture studies, exposome studies, besides looking at the effects of compounds in high concentrations or high doses that are not reflected then in the environment?
We are already doing that.
But tell me more.
Yeah, in ecotoxicology, we use the pharmacological conceptual models that were developed in the early 90s. So the concentration, addition, and independent action for pharmacy. And we can model and estimate predictions for this kind of mixtures and complex mixtures. But besides that, and in ecotoxicology is a little bit easier than in toxicology, we also do that with multiple generations. So if we have a short term living organism, we can do this for several generations, and we can study lower concentrations and longer terms. We can do that for toxicology using, for instance, C. elegans or Drosophila. I guess that these kind of approaches can be also used in toxicology within a toxicological approach. I know that there are some studies, especially with C. elegans, that look at these in terms of progeny and how things evolve in terms of progeny, if the progeny receives or not the inputs from.
Yeah, let me interrupt you. What you study there is endocrine disruption,
No.
mostly, no?
No.
Because if you try to evaluate something like carcinogenicity in the environment, it means that you need to have a long-term, very long-term exposure, months, sometimes years of exposure. Can you do it easily in ecotoxicology?
So what is long? For an elephant, long is more or less as long as we live. For a C. elegans, long is
Days.
2 days,
Yes.
5 days.
Yeah.
So this is.
But can you evaluate carcinogenicity in
can.
C. elegans or just the first effects like mutagenicity and
I think we can. I'm not an specialist.
development of cancer cells, then
Yeah.
the tissue that then grows and you know.
I'm not a specialist in elements. I'm working with C. elegans for 2 years now. But I think that there are some studies with that. The only thing we need to understand is understanding how the cancer develops. We need to look at the specificities of the organisms that we are using as the model organism. If they have the genes conserved that are related with certain responses. And in some cases, C. elegans doesn't work, but Drosophila works. So.
Okay, so in ecotoxicology, Bertrand, we have the acute studies, which are translated and then to spillover effects on fish and other species in the environment, and then the long-term effects. In long-term effects, then what really is importance of long-term effects in studies in ecotoxicology? How can you attract students to become ecotoxicologists to look at what they will look for in the studies that they will be involved?
Let's say something that can attract the students, like when we deal with environmental toxicology, is like the field work that's really attractive for the students. Instead of, let's say, just doing the experiments in the lab, like going on the field, collecting waters, for example, Dour or river, and collecting fishes there, and crustaceans, looking on that aspect that's interesting to attract the students. Yeah, then the work in the lab, it depends on the type of students. But then you were talking about the long-term
Effect.
long-term effects. What we try to do, at least in my lab, if I talk personally in my lab, we really try to perform both lab experiments and field experiments. And that's try to combine that. And also maybe I will come back to the first question you asked about the exposure and the mixture we have. And when we, for example, analyze the quality of the Garonne River, which is like one of the largest river in France, like equivalent to Douro, we found hundreds to thousands of molecules there. When we made survey adding, let's say, for us, the molecules that were the most concerning, exactly at the same concentration we found in the river. Like we made some experiment with 20, mix of 20, 30 molecules together. The results we got on the specific endpoints we were looking at were maybe 6-7 times lower to what we observed directly in the rivers. Because with the water directly from some, because there were so much chemicals.
So much chemicals there.
And it's really difficult to mimic that in the lab. And I'm talking already mixing 20 to 30 compounds, which is already a lot in terms of exposure. So that's really difficult.
So what is the future in ecotoxicology within 10 years? The same question that João Paulo made for toxicologists in general, but future.
For these complex problems, we just can do predictions, and these pharmacology models are very good to predict this kind of complex mixture, because it's already proven that as more compounds you have in a mixture, more additive will become. So it's easy to predict. Then the complexity in ecotoxicology goes a little bit behind that, because organisms interact with each other when they are in the field. So we also have a kind of a mesocosmos when we put them all together,
Yeah.
and they can
And
interact.
there's another point. I don't know if you are having this in your studies, but climate changes
Yeah.
are moving everything. From the knowledge is not the same anymore. Species are changing, and also a degree or two can have an effect, incredible effect on the response of organisms.
The exposure, the take on the bioavailability of the compounds, and also adding extra stress, and that's what we try to do. So my lab is like to do multiple stress. We try to stress that maybe for the increasing the temperature of the water, to see the response to the same chemicals will be the same, in order to anticipate what happened in the coming years. But
Yeah.
that's add another layer of complexity, or something which is already very complicated.
Within 10 years, if we increase 2 or 3 degrees, we need to repeat everything again.
For example, new species in different places.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes from Africa.
Yeah.
Are coming to solve.
So we need to be prepared in toxicology for that.
This is a problem, yes, this is a problem not just for the environment, but also for humans.
Yeah.
Because I think, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that toxicologists are not very into environmental toxicology. So they are not very into, for instance, what are the effects of chemicals that are present in different food or any other exposure that we have. And as João Paulo was saying, with this climate change, the organisms will move to adapt better to different conditions. So we will have more problems in agriculture. And we will need to spray more. So this will increase the exposure of people to pesticides and to whatever there is. Their effects will not be the same, even at higher doses, because we will be also exposure to different temperatures. So everything will be changed, and I'm not sure if this can be predicted.
Probably not, because we are changing it all the time. And in a single cherry tomato, we can have dozens of pesticides there. So we need to, the exposome will increase. I'm afraid that our children will have a lower quality environment than we had. So that's a big task ahead of ecotoxicologists. But coming again on regulatory toxicology, are there specific, Amanda, areas of regulatory toxicology that we need for skilled professionals and urgently? Or do you feel that we are confident that the knowledge that is already given in master courses, PhD, and also graduation courses is enough?
Picking up a little bit what was said, I think maybe if there was just a course about regulatory toxicology, and it would include every kind of regulatory toxicology, chemicals, pharma, and also medical devices. So it wouldn't be just one area specifically, and it would or in each toxicology course it would be you would teach the concepts of the regulatory requirements. It would be a good skill for
Yeah.
the industry, and also
So
because not
does the
everyone.
toxicologists need to have that knowledge in the regulatory area, or is it sufficient to have the basic knowledge in toxicology and then acquire the knowledge on the regulatory area once it
Well,
becomes?
For me, it was, but I went to, I was in the lab with the new professor, and I was in the lab here for several years. And I developed other skills that allow me to get into the industry faster, and I could be autonomous quickly. Although
And this is a good point for everyone here and those that are following us at home. Don't be afraid of all the knowledge that is required. Basic knowledge is sufficient to, if you want to follow a profession in toxicology, you don't have to know everything. You just have to adapt to the requirements of the place that you will be working. But there are at least some basic knowledge that it is required, and that basic knowledge must be there in the graduation and post-graduation courses. And then we have the AI. About then there is the AI. What does a toxicologist needs in terms of AI to be a good professional in the future?
I don't know enough about what is a toxicologist. But like we were speaking before, I believe that AI will change every profession that is knowledge-based. And with lots of simulation processes will allow us to fasten all the research in every area. And I believe that allow us to develop simulation models that will be each time more reliable. And I strongly believe that will suffer or benefit from a very strong impact in every kind of research. So I believe that we all should develop technological skills.
The question is it enough for every one of us to be autodidactic and go there and learn as much as possible? Or should we have a curriculum in it also included in those courses that for toxicology is just an example, but also in toxicology.
I believe that in any area, of course, if you are brilliant, resilient, you can always try to be learning in a autodidactic way. But of course, we have a lot to earn if we have training courses, may have not very impact on the curriculum, or postgrad or shorten training opportunities that allow us to get that food. And there are a lot right now of offer of training opportunities in AI in health, mainly in health issues. So it's more than any other area, actually, I believe. Also in managing, but I believe the two areas that are stronger right now of the offer of training opportunities are all those sciences that are related with health.
So, João Paulo, do you think that this is something we can have as a conclusion for ToxLearn for EU, the need for these courses, tutorials on AI and toxicology, because each one of us needs something, knows something, but we are far. João asked when he presented, he gave out his presentation, asked if we knew about at least the first two AI tools. I didn't know. So, and I already use AI a lot. So we need some structured tutorials on this subject.
I think it's critical, and as Ron said, most of the students know more than the teachers related with these instrument sets, skills that we don't have. Mainly as Ron mentioned, most of the students born during the period of Google, and we are behind that. So I think they have more skills to work on this than all these professors that teach toxicology. And I think AI will be a revolutionary for the teaching of all the things.
But we need structured tutorials to for us to be prepared. Because before I go to Roger, Bertrand,
I wanted to, but Roger asked.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think I absolutely agree that AI is going to make a change, right? But you know what we especially need to learn, I think, the student, but also us as teachers, is that we should consider, you know, AI may also be a black box, because there's something coming out and we don't know what. Right? And we know what, but we don't know how we got there.
Yes.
It's the same as what we had in the past with kids coming out, and I was isolating DNA, right? I did it all step by step. Now the students are just following the protocol of a kid. So at solution A, at solution B, they don't even know what is in there.
Yeah, but the more the teachers know,
It also becomes a black box, and that's loss of knowledge, right? And I think that's also something we have to keep in mind.
yeah, but the more that the teachers know, the better.
That's so, yeah.
The black box becomes gray and.
But that's totally in line with what Roger said, and I think it's like, as you mentioned, that students know more, but they don't use it, but they don't understand how it works, and they don't have the critical thinking to use it. That's the main point. And coming to Popo, actually, I was listening to a podcast about that, and they was saying that the prediction, like let's say in the next 10 years, because it's one of your questions, that there will be professional, maybe 5-10% of people will know how to use it properly with a critical thinking on it. And most of the people, 90% of the people will still use it, but without knowing what they are doing. And we know that there is a lot of, you were mentioning that, a lot of bias in terms of algorithms and so on. So they will not, if they don't have so our challenge as laboratories, research unit, or universities and academics, we need to train the students to have critical thinking and a critical use to this tool.
Yes, Ron.
Yeah, in history, we have the concept of revolution. And what is a revolution in history? is when something happens in a very short period of time that changes everything. And I really believe that we are living a revolution. We have that chance and that opportunity, and that is beautiful. Of course, we have some fear of the changes because our, I believe, way of living is changing a lot and very fast. But it's beautiful also to have the opportunity to live in this moment. I had a joke in my PPT that was in Portuguese first, that is, it doesn't work in English. That no, I didn't find a solution. That is, I believe that we are in the year to BC, like we say in Portuguese, that is the after Christ, first Christ. But DC now it's depois, after, and C is for ChatGPT. So I believe we are in the year 2 after ChatGPT. And of course there are biases, and of course there is a black box, but like in everything, it's learning very fast. There is now the generative AI and the agency AI. It's a process where we automatize proceedings, and lots of the things we do are proceedings that apply the same path to everything. For instance, in research, one thing is that we do, and it's, I would say, awful, it's the systematic review of a literature. A machine can do that in seconds.
I wouldn't say.
Okay, not in seconds, but in few minutes. Yeah, and because when we do systematic reviews of literature, we are applying a proceeding to a database. Where is the critical thinking of that?
You also do the flow chart with excluded articles and others.
Of course, I'm not sure if it's able to do it right now. I believe that it can, but it's a proceeding, and this it's a routine, you know, and everything that is a routine, AI will be able to do it if it's not already. So I believe it will impact in everything, mainly, as we was saying before, in those professions right now, in the industrial revolution, those who lose their jobs, or those who are not very knowledge-based professionals, you know, it was gray collar, now it's white collar. It's those who have knowledge-based professions that need to reinvent themselves.
Yes, challenge. Bertrand, you wanted to say anything, something? No? So I have a question then for, just, I have a question, an overall question. But before, I need to know, beyond all this technical knowledge, there are soft skills that are required in the industry. Communication, network, teamwork, leadership. Is that critical in the industry? Should it be included also in those courses on toxicology? So of course, but we are speaking about toxicology here.
It is,
Soft skills.
skills that are critical.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
No, they are. I am making a point. Although if you work in academia, you need to have that soft skills as well. So,
Do we provide those soft skills? Did you feel you got them during
during the classes, no, but during my training in the lab.
I think it's difficult to teach soft skills. I think, yeah.
For us, perhaps, but they are professionals that can do it very well.
Yeah.
I think it depends on skill.
Yeah.
If there are a lot of soft skills.
Yeah.
You should speak, speak up.
Obviously, it depends on the country or maybe also the university, because we do a lot of soft skills. Then we ask them to work together in projects. So And you do something already international.
Actually, I'll get back what I said, because in the master, during the classes, we had a lot of presentation, and that was really good for me.
Don't forget that you go inside.
That was good, that was really good for me. Professor Fernando remembered me for that. But that was really good for me, but I think, Mariana wants to.
I have to say, regarding the part that it's hard to teach soft skills, for instance, PBL is a very good way to teach soft skills, for instance. Because you really have, I hated PBL when I started because it's a lot of work, really. But after you really collect the fruits of the work that you do, because you need to start from very young age, 18, to learn how to, because at least in my university, we switch groups every 6 months. So it's more or less forward in every semester. So we had to adapt to every single group of people that we ended up with. And we always were having a different function in each group, because in one group I was more the leader, in the other I was like more the moderator. It depends on the people that I have around me. And I think in the part of the communication and everything, of course, the presentations are very important, but for me, it's harder to deal with people, like the relationships are harder than the presentations, because you have to have good and a good capacity to work with every single kind of person.
And you find that all the time, yes.
So I think I really now I can understand how important it was for my education, because I think I learned more from PBL. I don't remember so much what the hard skills, but soft skills stay. Like, yes.
Yeah, what's the link with that? So it's like when it's good to mentor and to tutor the students doing this type of projects. Of course, we do that on the, let's say, the content, but also on how they will develop the soft skills. So it's really important. So including in our curriculum, we have also colleagues from social sciences which are there and communicate about the soft skills. And then after every project, students have to make auto-evaluation for what worked, what didn't work, and to try to analyze this in this context. That's really important. And also what we try to do is like also to have a lot of collaboration with companies. So let's say at the master level, 1/3 to half of the lecturers are from companies. So they provide this really practical knowledge, discuss also with them, telling them also maybe sometimes you can be frustrated between what you learn at the university, how you apply, but like by discussing with some professional in front of you, it is the work on that. So that's really important. And the thing is like what we start to do, we have like critical knowledge that we still want to keep and we still grade, but we start to grade also the skills, the soft skills. So we grade the soft skills in every project, we grade them. And so that we start to have like this skills-based gradation.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Fernando, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, because about working groups. In fact, I don't know if the AI has a solution for this. I think we are starting, my feeling, I don't know if it's something that you can share also, is more difficult now for the young people to work in groups than it was before. Because they need to achieve very high results when they go to the university, so they work very individually before going to the university. When I'm working with them in the first year, I started to have problems in groups that I can't understand because in my time it wasn't possible this kind of problem. So I'm dealing with problems because people are not able to work with others. And I think we have here
Competition, because we are
telling with my colleagues that one of my main problems in my discipline of first year is working together. And so I'm learning with this process. I know that PBL can help us. Yeah, I try now to develop new skills in order to be sure that students contact with them because they don't contact, well, they contact by WhatsApp.
Social media.
Yeah, so I asked them to take a photo together and they even photo. They say, put all together in a group, send photo, I give you a mark for this. And I had a problem. They didn't take together to take a photo.
And I think the new generation are first. They
I started to do it, it's a
name.
for the new.
Yeah,
So
it's
I feel, I don't have any study about it, I don't read someone, but I'm feeling very difficult this skill, soft skill. I'm, okay, PBL can also help a lot.
If we grade it,
Yeah, if we grade it, and we be sure that force them to conduct.
I see some problems in grading the soft skills, especially for students with special needs.
yeah,
And they are increasing a lot.
Yeah.
They are increasing in number a lot, so it's very difficult to
it's
have.
another bridge.
some- Yeah, but it's, I think it's very important because if we grade them, how can you grade them? Because, and in some cases, sometimes I have like 50% of my students have special needs of some kind.
But it
Yeah.
it's personalized grading.
Yeah.
It's a tough skill for you also.
Yeah, you ask the words?
Yeah, I was wondering because what we did or what I did already also in the first and the second year when I'm trying to implement some soft skills is that students give feedback to each other, anonymized. Because that's always a big hurdle that, they know that I did it, and they will be angry with me. So anonymized and they have to, for instance, okay, I know that AI can make nice pictures and figure legends and whatever. But anyway, they try to do it, and we have a rubric on what is the standard, and so they really, by giving feedback to you without grading, they think about it, and they use it also for their own, and then they have to make a new one, and then in the end. So, and it really helps them. It's very small class,
To grade that.
and in the second year, we have really communication and presentation, they have to do the same on the layout, on the way you present, also they have to make critical questions. And they,
It obliges them
Great.
to improve, yeah.
yeah, so they really do it
Feel that,
on each other and
Yes,
somehow
that already.
they do a reflection on themselves, which helps.
Bertrand, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, on gradation, because that's complicated topics. You were talking about special needs. We try to give training of students about the students have to be aware about all the special needs in the beginning of the university year. And then it's really based on self-evaluation, self-grading. So within a group, let's say 5 students, they have to evaluate themselves.
Yeah.
And they have to evaluate all the other members. And then we cross all the evaluation from that. And so this is how we evaluate. And so if we see that we have conflictual things, we try to discuss with them in that order. But of course, without training about that, also because the students get trained, they know from the first year, then it's better and better. But you need to train them, and then it also is because maybe our students, they're very aware about that. They're really pushing that. The generation is really also pushing on special needs. That everyone is so different. When for us, we were used to be, we have to learn all the same things. So they are really pushing in that direction.
But some special,
Special.
where don't want to work with the other person. I say, I will not work.
No.
I think it's here where I think the semantics on problem-based learning is important, because I think we all have problems in our lives, and it's good to have a problem. And to, no, but it's true, we will have to learn how to deal with problems. So I think regarding what Professor Fernand was saying, so I think even if they don't do it, if you think it's important, you should ask for it. And they need to learn that they need to do it if they want something. There are actions, there are consequences for our actions. And regarding what I was saying, I think that in all the groups, probably, this is only my personal experience with PBL and having small groups with some people that have special needs, there will always be someone that's empathetic with them. And we always, in the end of each problem, which is a session, just like in the project case, we did a self-evaluation and we evaluated others, non-anonymous. So we had to do it face to face. And I think that we always have that in mind, that we are not saying this to hurt the person, we are saying that to be constructive. And I needed to look at what other people were telling me and to think, in this, I was not the best, I need to be better. For instance, I interrupted someone that I also wanted to speak, so I need to work on that, but I was very good at moderation, other stuff. So I think that also it's important to learn how to hear critical thoughts and to learn that it's not personal. And I think that's something that my generation needs to learn also. Because it's hard, I know, but it's very important. And I think that even if it causes them stress, it needs to be done because the world will not bend to our wants. So we need to do something. I'm sorry, I know it's
Well
hard.
said, well said.
I know it's probably very frustrating to ask for things that are not done, but if you think it's necessary, they need to have consequences. I did, that's why. I'm saying that.
No, but I was talking
The one out there.
special session.
João, you mentioned.
Yeah, I teach skills and their skills, so we can train, because we can train any skill. It's not a talent, it's a skill. And like that, you can train it, communication, collaboration, you can, organization, critical thinking, whatever, you can train.
Right.
And that's, then, I would like to, again, I'm, history, based, and my PhD was on history. And I would like to put down this idea of a certain golden age. We were good, and these ones, they suck. When I was studying the institution that I studied for my PhD, I did the history of Faculdade de Letras of the University of Lisbon, Faculty of Letters. In the minutes of the meetings, in 1905, the professors said, if they don't behave, I will not be responsible for my behavior. Okay, 1905. And I was delivering a talk in Óbidos with a teacher that teach Greek and Latin culture. And even back then in the Greeks and in the Latin times, students sometimes don't behave, and there is also always that idea of one generation better than another, you know? So it's
a nonsense.
yeah.
And this can be practiced. I agree with you, and I will pick this stuff for the last question, which is for me perhaps the most important, is the conclusion of all these ideas during this roundtable. What steps should we take today to ensure that toxicology remains vital and innovative fields within 10, 20, 50 years from now? What should we change now in the graduation and post-graduation courses to be prepared? And this is something that can be done in terms of conclusion, also from this project. What should we do? And this is a question that anyone here can try to answer. Some of the skills that we obtained and the knowledge should be maintained, but others should be included. What do you feel it should be included now for us to be prepared within 5, 10, 20 years? I will start with Susanna.
I think that we have to adapt the courses that we have to the needs. And we will have to do that by a regular basis because things are evolving so fast that. But then I think it's a problem everywhere. We are short of human resources. And we are short of human resources that are able to deliver some of the knowledge that needs to be given, because I cannot have the expertise in everything. So if we need something else, I cannot teach, so I need someone else. So the shortage of human resources is an issue. But I think that we are in a good direction with these new methodologies for teaching, because they can provide something that is crucial for any kind of, which is critical thinking and problem solving. So if you have this kind of capacity, and I think it's something that we are losing, at least I think in Portugal, we are losing to teach the basis of the scientific method. So the students don't know what is the scientific method. They don't know the steps. They don't know why we do that. They don't know why we already say that the sky is blue or the green is grass. So they don't know these kind of things. They don't think about it. They don't reflect about problems. So I think that we should start to provide them tools for them to think, provide the concepts for them to think. So like the concepts for regulation, the concepts for NUMS, the concepts for solving this problem, and then make them think about solving problems, getting into conclusions, getting into a final decision if needed. And I think this will somehow overcome the problems that we are having now. But new expertise and new human resources with new expertise is crucial for us to move on.
From the industry point of view, are the courses okay for the knowledge that we need or the skills that we need within 10 years? Should the industry be more involved in those courses and the regulatory bodies as well? So they have or they are contributing for that preparation that we need for those students. What you feel we need to do which modifications do you feel we require at the time being in the courses that we have available?
I feel that it's regarding design and development, there has been in Portugal at least, but I think in Europe, an evolving situation, and universities and industry are way more related and developing research together. And industry is born of that relation. It's the case of my company that was born from a PhD in University of Minho. So I think regarding the part of innovation and design and engineering, things are more or less evolving.
We are preparing the students for research, or are we preparing the students for the work?
Okay, so that's where I'm going to go after. But regarding the part of the working in regulations, paperwork, working in a national or European agency, and having that kind of background, no, we can get the skills, the soft skills, we can get the critical knowledge to do so, at least in my back then, I could, but we don't have a specific lecture for that, a specific timing where I can get that information, and either the industry is involved in that or our national authority.
We should, in my opinion, at least involve more the industry.
Yes. in my opinion as well.
Petra, do you agree? What we need to modify, what should we modify at this moment in your home country? What that you feel you should, what are the needs in the industry and regulatory bodies that are not fulfilled with the courses? What should we modify in terms of what we teach in those courses?
We should continue to modify, as Amanda said, that this already there is a process ongoing everywhere in Europe, like a more closer relation between the companies and the universities to have more, let's say, applied research, also knowledge. I think we need to go on that way at least. So far, I mean, the system, I think Jao was talking about that. I mean, the system is still medieval. The knowledge, I mean, the teaching is still from the first university in the 14th century, and that was still the same way of teaching. And still, the purpose of the university is to, of course, is to provide knowledge and give knowledge to students. But also, if you think like it's really academic oriented and research oriented in the lab. So, and at the end, how many students ended working in research? And not that much. If you compare to people working in the companies, public bodies, whatever, way more. So I think we need to have more of this. As I was explaining, maybe include more people coming from, not only companies, but also, let's say, municipalities, regions, and so on, to teach a bit more like hands-on problem, how it works in reality. Say, okay, the teacher will tell you it's like that, but in reality, it's like that, it works like that. A bit more maybe practical knowledge. We have to teach the critical thinking, but the people from the corporate world, I think we provide, like, some practical knowledge.
Do you feel that computational toxicology should be there? Do you feel that as a curriculum unit? Do you feel that AI should be there as a curriculum unit? Soft skills should be there as a curriculum unit? Because, we have always 1 year.
Exactly, but so we go back to the original point when we were discussing at the beginning of the panels. That's where we ended, that's time. And that we have a time constraint, like we have 1 year, 2 years program, and what to put.
First year is the rental part.
So if you put new knowledge, new skills to develop, of course you have less time for the other ones, and that's always what we struggle in. I don't know if it's like on really knowledge itself that we should focus. And I go back also to what Susanna said. I totally agree on the fact that developing the critical thinking is really something we need to do, because the knowledge by itself, they can get it by training online, by so many. Yeah, the knowledge is not a problem anymore. Having an access to knowledge, developing the critical thinking, the way the soft skills in working in group and so on, is not something you can get by just listening to some YouTube videos or whatever. The knowledge by itself, you can have an access. All these skills, let's say transversal skills and critical thinkings, I think are really the core that we have to provide. So if we can provide both, making a mix of providing the knowledge, as Roger was mentioning, that of course they are still doing lecture and so on, but everything is really integrated to develop the critical thinking, still providing basic knowledge. But what is difficult for me when I switch from really typical lecture, because I was doing in the beginning of my career, doing what I saw. So just by doing basic lecture and so on, when I moved to very active pedagogy, what was the most difficult for me was to accept to say, okay, this part I will not teach about, because I don't have time anymore to teach that. And then I was feeling so frustrated. No, it's not possible. But at the end, when we came back to final results, at the end, the students, I teach less things to the students face to face. At the end, they have better score and marks at the exams, the same exams.
Let's get Roger to the discussion. Roger, yeah. Do you feel that the teachers, as they are now, are prepared to include everything that is needed in those courses for us to be prepared for the next 10, 20, 50 years?
You ask a bigger question.
Yeah. Should let's say, increase the skills and the knowledge of the teachers?
I think it's a good point. but it's also very difficult. But for instance, at Master University, we try to educate teachers as well, right? So we train them more. But we often see that the teachers that are most interested in developing themselves as a teacher are the ones that are already good teachers. Whereas those who are not interested in those courses and don't want to do it, these are the ones that just very starting. So this is a very difficult. I think the teachers can get the information they need. But I think it's intrinsic, the intrinsic wish to do that. I think that's more important. If your heart is with the teaching, you go for it. If your heart is with the science and you see teaching as a side job, then it might be difficult.
Thank you. I think this is an ongoing discussion. It will not end here. It will continue for sure for years to come. But it was a very fruitful discussion, fruitful roundtable. Thank you for all your contributions. It was great. Thank you.